You are not behind. And I need you to hear that before I say everything else I'm about to say, because this whole episode is going to feel like I am coming for your life. And I am a little coming for you, but I want you to know that the coming for you is coming from a place of someone who sees you, actually sees you, not the version of you that you perform for the people in your life, not the curated bullshit highlight reel, the version of you that is sitting right now with that quiet, persistent, maddening feeling that everyone else is further along, that the people you started with are ahead of you, that the window you had is closing, that you are behind on a timeline that nobody actually set, but that feels more real than anything you can point to. You are not behind, you're just on the wrong track. And those are not the same things at all. Behind means that you are running the right race and you are just not far enough along yet. It means more speed, it means you need more effort, maybe more consistency. All of those things would be the answer. It means that the path is correct and that the pace is the problem. On the wrong track means the race you've been running is not your fucking race. The timeline that you've been measuring yourself against belongs to someone else. The definition of ahead that you keep failing to reach was never your definition to begin with. You absorbed it from your family, from your culture, from the algorithm that's been showing this, again, curated bullshit evidence of other people's arrivals for years. And you made it yours without ever stopping to ask if it was actually the life you were trying to build for yourself. That is the difference. And it is the difference between spending the next 10 years running harder and arriving somewhere you do not recognize versus spending the next 10 years running the right race and arriving somewhere that really just feels like home. And today I want to help you figure out which one you've been doing, and then let's fucking deal with it. Welcome to the Listen Bitch podcast. I am Brandon Lynette, the Voice Authority podcast coach. Your mess is your message. And I'm going to be honest with you right about this part of the episode. I'm a little pissed off today. And it's not at you specifically, but it's just the situation at because this is such a preventable waste of potential that comparison produces in people who already have everything they need to build something extraordinary. And these people are instead spending their energy measuring themselves against people who are not even on the same fucking track. And I see this every week in every conversation I'm having in podcast guests, in clients, in potential clients, people with real gifts, with real calling, with a real story, just sitting on it, scrolling past someone who launched the thing they've been planning, comparing their chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20, measuring the size of what they have built against the size of what someone else has built without knowing how long that person has been building, what they invested, what was their price, what did it cost them, what is going on behind the scenes that did not make the post, and then deciding in the gap between that incomplete information and the ache that they feel looking at it that they are not enough, that they are behind, that maybe the thing they are supposed to build is not actually theirs to build. And yeah, I'm pissed off about that because the world is losing what you have to give every single motherfucking day you spend in the comparison loop instead of in the work. And the people who needed your specific voice, your specific story, your mess turned into your message, they are out there right now just waiting. They're waiting. Y'all, today's episode is brought to you by Super Patch. Joy today, Zen today, because this episode is about getting back to what is actually yours, your lane, your peace, your calling, your joy. If you guys do not listen to me, if you do not follow me on Instagram, that's cool because I'm never really active there. It's just overflow from what I do on Facebook, right? But I found this cool thing that if I go live, I get to share my link. So in the next couple weeks, I want to start going live with my patches just to show people what this is about, and the link will be included. So if you're not already following me over there, just give me a follow and then, give me a week or two. I'm working on some other things right now, but I'm going to get that up and running now that I know it is possible. But yeah, I want to get you back to what's yours. You're laying your peace, you're calling your joy, not the performance of the bullshit fake version of joy that shows up on social media when you're trying to look like you're doing well. The actual thing. Like there is this aliveness that comes from doing the work you were made to do at the pace that's genuinely yours. And joy patch is what I put on when I need my nervous system to remember what it feels like to be fully in the right place. Because maybe I do things in my life I'm not so excited about, and I love that joy can keep me navigated, right? And I wouldn't say it's not that I'm not excited. It's just like y'all, if I could work 24 hours a day on what I'm doing now, on the projects I have going, I would be working on this 24/7. I can't, and I'm in full sports season with the kids, and I'm very blessed. I am not saying that I'm not blessed. I am not saying that it's a miserable life because I love that I'm free and available to take my girls where they need to go, but it is time consuming, and it's easy for me to be sitting there and not be in that moment when I have a million other things I would rather be doing, right? Like I've not been so excited about building my future as I have been in the past couple of months. And I love that trajectory. So these patches, like, wow, peace and joy, Zen, they are my lifeline, you guys. Okay. And it helps me just keep that present awareness to be fully in the right place. These are drug-free patches, zero ingredients. It is vibrotactile technology, telling your brain through your skin that you're in the right lane. This is yours. Feel it. Okay. I've got the link in the show notes. And you guys, you can reach out. You can text me 269-340-2428. Just hit patches. And we can talk about what's best for you. Okay. If you need a phone call, meh, my hours are kind of shady, but I'll set that up with you through a text. Okay. We can schedule it. But anyway, this comparison trap. Okay. Let me get back to being kind of pissed off. Every time you open the app and you see someone else's result, your brain does something. It's on a fucking specific mission, and it's so automatic that you've never been told it does this. And once you know what it's doing, you will never be able to look at comparison the same way ever again. Your brain has a region called the ventral striatum. Okay? I hope I said that right. And if not, then please correct me in the comments. It's fine. Part of the reward circuitry that activates specifically in response to social comparison. It's literally wired to compare your status to the status of the people around you. So that's not a character flaw. This is evolutionary hardware we're born with. For most of human history, your social standing in the group determined your survival. Okay. Who had resources, who had protection, who had access to the things that kept you alive. Knowing where you ranked was life or death information. So the brain built a monitoring system for it. It is constant, it's automatic, it's involuntary. That system was calibrated for a tribe of about 150 people. The number of people a human brain was designed to track socially, the number of people you could realistically know, have context for, understand the full picture of their life and situation. 150 people. Okay. And in that context, the comparison was at least somewhat accurate. You knew the people you were measuring yourself against. You knew the full situation. You had the complete picture. Now you have access to that bullshit, curated, fake as fuck highlight reel of like 3 billion people. And your brain, this ancient survival calibrated 150 person brain, is trying to run the same comparison algorithm on 3 billion data points. It cannot do it accurately. It was never designed to. So it does the only thing it can do, babe. It takes the available data, which is the best version that 3 billion people have chosen to present of themselves, and then it compares it against the unedited, full context, behind the scenes reality of your own fucking life. Every single time. Listen, bitch, every single time the comparison produces the same result. And what is that? You're behind. Everyone else is further along. Something is so wrong with your pace. Yeah, no, nothing is wrong with your pace. Your brain is running a comparison algorithm on data it was never designed to process and producing a conclusion that is not accurate. That is not a motivation problem. That is a hardware problem being exploited by people who profit from the feeling it produces. Hello, rebellion season. And neuroplasticity is going to change everything in this moment because the comparison response is a pathway. It is a very deeply grooved, highly efficient pathway built through years of repetitive social media use that has trained the brain to run the status comparison every time it encounters evidence of someone else's results. But a pathway, again, is not forever. It's not a destiny. Every pathway was built and every pathway can be interrupted and redirected. We're going to pave over that shit, bitch. Every time you catch the comparison firing and redirect your attention to, like your own work, your own progress, your own specific lane, you are weakening the comparison pathway and you're building the focus pathway. Rep by rep, the brain grows where the attention goes. And your attention is not going to everyone else's track for so long that your own has felt unfamiliar. Start running on your own track today and every day until your brain learns that it is the only one worth monitoring. Instagram did not accidentally make you feel behind. That was the engineering brief. And I'll be specific about this because vague statements about social media being bad have been circulating for a decade and clearly have not changed anything. Okay. The specific mechanism is this. The platforms discovered early in their development that emotion that produced the highest engagement, the most scrolling, the most time on the app, the most returning to check, it was not happiness. It was not inspiration. It was a specific compound emotion that researchers call social comparison anxiety. The feeling of being behind, of not measuring up, of needing to check in again to see if you were still behind. That feeling kept people on the app, and time on app was the product they were selling to the advertisers. So they built the product around the feeling. Chronological feeds replaced by the algorithm designed to surface the most activating content. We are useful idiots. We are guinea pigs on their science experiments that have proven to be true with tons of research. The like count is made public, so status was visible and comparable. The follower count front and center, so you always know where you're ranked. And the story format with the 24-hour expiration, creating the specific urgency of things being posted that you might miss. FOMO, bitches. The explore page curated to show you the best of everyone outside of your circle so you could compare yourself to strangers whose full context you would never have. Every feature of every platform has been turned and fine-tuned over years of data to maximize the production of social comparison anxiety, because social comparison anxiety is the emotion that keeps you scrolling. You have been deliberately, intentionally, at great technology and this huge financial investment made to feel behind. It was not an accident. It was not an accident. That is the product. Your feeling is the product. And you have been consuming it every single day. Big food, y'all, did the same thing to your hunger. Engineered the hyper palatable food that hijacks satisfaction signal so that you never feel like you've had enough. Big Pharma built the dependency model. Big Tech built the comparison model. The government keeps the population divided enough that they cannot organize around the things that actually matter. All of it, every system we have named this season is running the same underlying program. Make sure you never feel like you have enough. Make sure you never feel like you are enough. Make sure that that gap between where you are and where the product promises to take you stays permanently open because that gap is the market. Your comparison anxiety is not a personal failing. It is the successfully delivered product of a system that needs you to stay in it. And the most rebellious thing you could do right now is get out of it. Not by deleting the apps necessarily, though I'm on the verge. Okay. But if you need to, go ahead, delete them. It's by building something so specific and so yours that the comparison becomes structurally impossible. Because you cannot compare your lane to someone else's when you are the only one running in your lane. There is no metric for it. There is no one ahead of you on a path that only you can walk. And that is the rebellion. Build the thing only you can build. Say the thing only you can say. Serve the people only in your specific combination of wounds and wisdom and stories that you can reach them with. Comparison cannot survive in that space. 2 years I spent watching someone build what I was supposed to be building. And I'm not trying, I'm not trying to make someone anyone's villain, okay? But there was a person in my space close enough that I knew their work, I knew their audience. I watched the growth in real time. They were building in the direction I'd been saying I was going to build, and every milestone they hit, I felt it. And it wasn't as their milestone, it was as my failure, as evidence that the thing I'd been planning was now theirs, that I waited too long and someone else had taken the space that was mine. I lost 18 months to that story, 18 months of measuring their trajectory against my inertia of watching their audience grow while mine stayed the same and actually even shrank because I was watching instead of building, consuming their content, which was good content, genuinely good, and translating it in my brain into proof that I should not bother, that the space was taken, that I was behind in a way that was no longer recoverable. And then I had this conversation with God and always, dear God, I fucked up. Okay. In the car, always in the car, right? Saying it out loud. Um, I don't understand why you put this in me and I'm watching someone else build it first. Why is this in me? Let's move on. And here's the thing, like when I'm trying to be radically honest with myself, I don't get comfort from God. I get correction. I get correction. Um, and that clarity comes through as they are not building what you're supposed to build. They're building what they are supposed to build. And I have my eyes on the wrong track. And I was called to go find my own shit. And this is the thing about correction that I want you to understand. And it's not the part where or how God speaks to me, though he does and that's part of our personal relationship, right? I'm not watering that down because his voice is powerful in my life these days. But it's the part where, he comes through and he explains that they are not building what I'm supposed to build. Because never in my life did I consider that. I just assumed without examining the assumption that similar direction meant the same destination. That because our work overlapped in some ways, we were competing for the same thing. And we weren't. We never were. The people who needed what I specifically had were not going to find it in this other person's work. And it's not because their work was insufficient, it's because their work was theirs. Guess what? Mine is mine. And those are not interchangeable things, no matter how much the comparison loop tells you they are. The devil's a liar. That 18 months I lost to watching someone else's track cannot be recovered. The time is gone. And I'm not telling you this for sympathy or to perform the lesson. I'm telling you because right now you have something that I did not have at the start of those 18 months. You have someone who has been in it, who knows what those 18 months cost, who can tell you with the authority of having wasted that fucking time to stop watching the other person's track and get on your own. It's not behind. It's just been unattended, okay? While you're watching their track. So you need to go get on your track today, not tomorrow, today. Um, I sat across from one of my interview shows not long ago. She's been a nurse for 12 years and she started building what she was actually supposed to build. She didn't leave nursing because it was wrong. She left because something kept pulling at her that nursing was not feeding. Um, you guys know there's that ache of a person whose job, using 20% of their capacity while the other 80 sits waiting. She had been watching other people in the health and wellness space build platforms, build followings, build the thing that she'd been sketching out in notebooks for years. And she'd been translating their progress into her delay. Every time someone launched, she felt further behind. Every time someone hit a milestone, she felt less qualified to try. And that continued to make her feel less empty in her life. She says, I keep waiting to feel ready. And what I actually needed was to feel it was still available. Mind blown for me. Because what happens, you're watching everyone else move and it's going to make you feel like the space is filling up. Like by the time you get there, there will be no room. There is no room that fills up for what only you can bring. There is no space that gets taken by someone who is not you. That specific combination of her life, of the 12 years of nursing, of holding people's hands at the worst moments of their lives, of knowing what the body does and does not survive, of having the credibility of someone who showed up at the bedside and did the hard shit before she built a single piece of content. That is not something that anybody can replicate. Nobody else has it. Nobody else can build what she builds from it. And the people who needed specifically her, the ones who needed the nurse who became the coach, who needed the person who had been in the hospital room, who now had tools for the life outside of it, those people are not being reached by anyone else. They're waiting for her. She launched 6 months after that conversation, her first conversation. Got to get radically honest with yourself. Radically honest with yourself. Am I on my track or is this someone else's? The first message she received, okay, within 48 hours of the first piece of content she posted was from a woman who said, I've been looking for someone who actually knows what this is like from the inside. And now she hears it all the time. She didn't think anybody thought she'd exist. Nobody like you exists. I'm not trying to make you guys a fucking curated motivational poster, okay? That is a fact. There is no one with your specific history, with your wiring, with your specific story, your experience, your mess. No one has been through the rooms you've been through, who has survived the things you have survived, who sees the world through the specific lens that your life is built for you. The space you occupy in this earth is yours and it's specific and it cannot be taken by someone who is not you. Not because you are the furthest along, but because you are the only one, literally. Stop letting comparison tell you there's no room because the room is waiting for only you. And this bullshit shows up. It's that 7 a.m. when you open the app before you've done a single thing for your own work and you see the result someone else posted and the familiar ache. Ugh, it just fires before you've even had your tea, coffee, whatever the fuck you drink. And the ache, that's it. It colors the rest of your morning. And the morning that was supposed to be for building becomes the morning you spend in the comparison loop. And what are you calling it? Research? This shows up in all the content that you do not post because you saw someone else post something similar last week and you told yourself the space was saturated. Not similar. It was identical to yours. That would be a real constraint. It was similar. Similar is not the same. Your version of it has your story behind it. Your specific angle, your voice, your mess. And someone out there needed your version and did not get it because you decided similar meant redundant. Uh, it shows up in the pricing conversation. When you charge less than your work is worth because you looked at someone who's been building for 5 years longer than you and decided the price point was the ceiling. It's not the ceiling, it's the current location on a track that's not yours. Your price is determined by the value you bring, not the proximity of someone else's number. Um, this shows up in the relationships where you compare your marriage to the one that looks effortless in the photos. You're you're parenting the parent who posts these beautiful moments, your faith to the person whose testimony always just sounds so much cleaner than yours. Your body to the one that's been doing the work for longer, your business to the one that's had more resources, more team, more years of foundation behind it. And in every comparison, you are using someone else's best presented moment as the standard against which you measure your full unedited reality. The math is not mathing, girlfriend. It's never going to work in your favor. It's not designed to. And if your brain is like mine, like y'all feel this comparison more intensely. Okay, we process the ache of it with a lot louder volume and it carries the sting longer. And then it's going to loop back to it without even being asked. And this is that neurological challenge that is worth naming. A brain wired for intensity does not do a casual comparison. Bitch, we fully immerse ourselves. Full immersion. We go deep into the evidence. We build this comprehensive case. We assign the worst possible meaning to the gap it finds, and then we run that case on repeat until something interrupts it. And the comparison is not just a feeling for that brain, it's an argument, a well constructed, thoroughly evidenced, emotionally vivid argument for why you're behind and why the gap is not closable. And the argument is completely wrong, but it is persuasive. Wow. And you're going to keep running it until you replace it with something more and more compelling. The most compelling thing available, you guys, is going to be your own work. Your specific, irreplaceable, nobody else can do it kind of work. Get into it immediately. The moment the comparison loop starts, redirect to the work, not to thinking about the work. Not to planning the work, open the document, record the voice note, write the paragraph, make the thing, because you cannot be in the comparison loop and the creative flow state simultaneously. The brain cannot run both programs at once. And the moment that you're actually making something, the comparison becomes structurally impossible. You are on your track. Your track is occupied. The comparison has nowhere to land. The people you've been comparing yourself to are not your competition. They are what we call the proof of concept. Okay? I want this to land for you. I want you to understand this. Okay? Write this down. The person who launched the thing you have been planning, the one with the following that you want, the one that's building in your space, who you've been watching with a mixture of admiration and low grade resentment. They are not evidence that it's too late. They are evidence that it's possible. They prove that the market exists. They prove that people want what you're building. They did the work of establishing that this thing, whatever their help is, the specific kind of content, the specific message, has an audience. And they did it before you were ready, which means when you launch, you're not building from scratch. You're entering a market that's already been proven. And you are not entering it with something they do not have. It's your story. You have this very specific stories cannot be duplicated. Nobody built this the way you're going to build it. That's the story. The wounds that shaped your perspectives, the detours that gave you the credibility of someone who's been in the fucking arena. The mess that when you stop managing it and actually start using it is the most powerful differentiator available in any market. You're next, babe. You're not late. You're fucking next. And next is not the same as behind. Jesus had 12 disciples in a world of millions of people who needed what he had. He was not trying to reach everyone. He was reaching exactly the people he was sent to reach. And he was not comparing his reach to the Pharisees who had the institutional platform. He was not comparing the method to the teachers who had the established schools. He was doing the specific thing he was sent to do for the specific people he was sent to do it for on a very specific timeline that was his and his alone. not the timeline of the culture around him, not the timeline of the institutions, not the timeline of everyone else who would have chosen for him. He was not behind. He was on time. His time, God's time, and the impact was not diminished by the fact he started in obscurity and operated outside the approved channels and had a following that looked by any external measure completely insufficient for the task at hand. Guess what? Your following looks insufficient for the task at hand, too. So does mine. By comparison metrics, by someone else's benchmark, by the timeline the culture around us has established for what success looks like at our age and our stage. But none of those metrics are accurate for our track. Your track. Your track has its own metrics. Your track has its own timeline. And the person you're becoming on your track, you know, the person that can only carry your stories and experience, it's not replaceable by anyone who has more followers or launched earlier or is even further along in their own track. You are becoming, you're not behind. You are becoming, and becoming is not a deficit, it is the process. And today, not this week, today, you're going to do 1 hour of work on your own thing with every app closed. I want all of your notifications off and zero access to what anyone else is building. 1 hour completely in your lane, making the thing that is yours to make. Not planning to make it, not researching it, making it a paragraph, a recording, a sketch, a first draft of something that does not exist yet and that only exists if you make it. 1 hour, your track only. The comparison cannot survive the making, it only survives the watching. Then I want you to identify the one person in your space that you've been watching most closely. The one whose progress you've been using as the measuring stick for your own and deliberately, consciously choose to reframe them or unfollow. Okay, write down 3 ways that what they are building is different from what you're building. 3 specific differences, okay? Not to diminish their work, but to see the distinction. To make the comparison structurally inaccurate by running exactly how your track differs from theirs. The brain needs the evidence, the proof and truth that they're not the competition, so just give it the fucking evidence. And then identify the one person who could only be reached by you. It is, I'm not talking about a demographic. I'm talking about a very specific person, the one who has had the specific experience that your specific story speaks to, the one who needs the nurse who became the coach, the one who needs the person who spent 10 years in self-sabotage before they built the damn thing. Moi. The one who needs the voice that came out of woo space and came back to Jesus and rebuilt from the truth. That person. Picture them. Name what they're carrying and make the next thing for them. Not for the algorithm, not for the comparison metric, but for them. Because that person, the specific one, cannot find what they need anywhere else. And every day you spend in the comparison loop is a day that they go without. Let me tell you about a man I know who spent 3 years watching someone else build his podcast. Not literally his, but the podcast that he'd been talking about, planning for, outlining in notebooks, telling people he was going to build. And someone in his world built it first and they built it well. They built the audience for it. And my guy watched it happen and told himself it was too late, that the space was taken, that the version of it he would have built is now redundant, right? And he put the notebooks away. 4 years after that decision, still in the same job, been trying to leave. You know, when he first started planning the podcast, still carrying the same message he'd been carrying when he put the notebook away. And he's still telling people closest to him about the thing he was going to build someday. Someday, I'm going to have a podcast someday. You guys, someone carrying this around, they have this visible exhaustion that is a telling sign. They are not happy because he's carrying a calling that he hasn't answered. It's all over his face. It's in the eyes. And in the way you can hear the voice drop when these dreamers talk about the thing they hadn't built. In the way this guy talked about the person who built it, not with resentment anymore, just with grief, really unresolved grief. And the grief of someone who let someone else's arrival be the justification for their departure. He asked me in this conversation if it was too late. And I'm going to tell you what I told him because it is the answer to the question you've been asking yourself in the quieter moments. You're not saying it out loud. It is not too late. It was never too late. And the person who launched first did not take your spot. They warmed it up for you. They proved the market. They built the audience that has been wondering why nobody's talking about the thing the way only you could talk about it. The podcast you put in the notebooks is still there. The message is still yours, and the people who need it are still waiting. They've just been waiting longer than they should have because you decided someone else's arrival was just your deadline. So he launches after the conversation, and he did not start from scratch. He started from exactly where he was with everything he'd learned in the 4 years he thought he had wasted. His first episode reached a woman who sent him a message that said, I've been listening to that other podcast for 2 years, and what you said in the first 10 minutes is what I've been waiting to hear the whole time. So 4 years of watching someone else's track cost him the people who needed his track specifically. He cannot get those years back, but he has every year from here forward. And so do you. The notebooks are still there, the message is still yours, and the people are still waiting. And I am the person who takes exactly where you are right now with the notebooks and the plans, the mess, the years you think you wasted watching someone else, and we build the podcast that delivers the message that was always supposed to exist. You've been waiting for the right time, and the right time does not exist on someone else's timeline. It exists right now just on yours. So make sure you guys check the show notes. Come work with me. Tell me the thing that you've been putting in the notebooks. Tell me who's been waiting for it, and let's build something. Not someday. I'm saying let's build it now.